OpenAI CTO Mira Murati just announced that she's leaving the company.
So of that group of four, it is just Sam Altman who is there day to day as of now. What do you think is happening here? What's the real story?
All right, Kevin. Well, I have been so focused on Meta Connect this week that I have not been keeping up with the tech headlines as well as I should have. And that made me feel like this would be the perfect time to play a game of HatGPT.
Yes!
Now, HatGPT, of course, is our game where we take headlines from the news, we riff on them a bit, and when one of us gets bored, we say to the other person, hey, stop generating.
Yes.
So, shall we begin?
Let's do it.
Okay, Kevin, this is a big one. OpenAI CTO Mira Murati just announced that she's leaving the company. So as we stepped into the booth today, we saw this one come over the wires. Mira Murati, of course, the chief technology officer of OpenAI, announced that she was leaving after 6.5 years. She posted a note online that said, after much reflection, I have made the difficult decision to leave OpenAI, adding, there's never an ideal time to step away from a place one cherishes, yet this moment feels right. Now, Kevin, I always feel like in corporatese, the phrase, there's never an ideal time to step away, translated into English means, I know that I'm leaving at a terrible time. Do you feel that way too?
I thought it meant I got fired.
Well, I am very confident that Mira Murati did not get fired.
Yeah, I don't think so either, in part because she's not the only person who left this week. A few hours after Mira made her announcement, two other senior leaders at OpenAI also announced they were leaving. OpenAI's chief research officer, Bob McGrew, and a vice president of research, Barrett Zoff. Like Mira, they both sort of gave vague explanations for why they were leaving, like wanting to explore new opportunities and take a break. So whatever is happening, it seems like a very big deal.
Look, it is. I mean, I have had people very close to the company inside OpenAI who says, you know, when Sam Altman is out there being the AI diplomat to the entire world, traveling the globe, raising money for his chip projects and everything else, Mira is the one who is overseeing the company's roadmap and really handling all the day-to-day operations. So, you know, on one hand, this does feel pretty shocking. But on the other hand, I don't think we can say that we are surprised. These are just the latest in a wave of people to leave. I would not be surprised if Mira started her own AI company. She says she's stepping away because, quote, I want to create the time and space to do my own exploration. And whatever that exploration turns out to be, I'm sure Andreessen Horowitz will offer her $100 million for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really remarkable how much this company has changed in the past year or two. There was a photo that sort of became semi-iconic of the sort of leadership of OpenAI, I think sitting on a couch together. And it was Sam Altman, Mira Murati, Greg Brockman, and Ilya Sutskever. And that was sort of the highest ranking leadership of this company just a year ago. And now Ilya Sutskever has left the company. Mira Murati has left the company. Greg Brockman is out on an extended leave. So of that group of four, it is just Sam Altman who is there day to day as of now. What do you think is happening here? What's the real story?
Well, you know, I was my boyfriend is reading a book about the history of Silicon Valley right now, and he just shared this passage with me about the rise of the semiconductor industry. And one of the first big semiconductor manufacturers was Fairchild. And it was a very similar situation to OpenAI. So many people left Fairchild and started their own silicon companies that they were known as the Fairchildren. And the companies that they created are the reason that we wound up calling this Silicon Valley. So if you view the rise of AI as kind of a tectonic shift in the technology landscape, we might be seeing the same thing here, where OpenAI really was one of the biggest incubators for this technology. And one by one, all of those co-founders said, you know what? I bet I could do it a little bit better, do it a little more my way, and make a little bit more money if I did it somewhere else.
So you think this is about her wanting to do her own thing. I have some questions here. Obviously, we'll wait to hear more about if any more reporting comes out about why Mira Murati has left the company. But I also saw another story today about OpenAI that made me think that it might be somehow related, which is that they are reportedly working to transition to a traditional for-profit company. Right now, as we know, the company is governed by the board of a nonprofit organization. So this transition would do away with that entirely. The nonprofit would be a separate entity with only a minority stake in the for-profit company. So I just wonder if part of this is just this is not the kind of project that these people signed up for back when OpenAI was founded.
Which it gives them all the more reason to leave and start their own thing, right? Like if those stories do wind up being related, I feel very confident Mira Murati will be working on AI once again very soon.
And as we know, OpenAI has said that it no longer punishes whistleblowers by withholding their equity after they leave the company.
So Mira Murati, your invitation to hard fork is wide open.
We got a spot for you next week.
Yeah.
All right, stop generating. This next story is a double backpedal, and there are two stories on this slip. One of them is about Elon Musk's X backing down in Brazil after defying court orders in Brazil for 3 weeks.
Now, wait, when you say Elon Musk's X backing down in Brazil, are you referring to Grimes?
No.
Okay.
No, X, the company formerly
one. Yeah.
known as Twitter. Mm-hmm. After defying court orders in Brazil for 3 weeks, X has capitulated. In a court filing last Friday, X's lawyers said that the company had complied with orders from the Brazilian Supreme Court in hopes that the court would lift a block on its site. That is a sharp reversal. It spent weeks insisting that it would not back down, and then it backed down. Okay, that's story number one. Story number two, in the same vein, is about Telegram, another company that we've talked about on the show very recently. Telegram CEO Durov says app to provide more data to governments. Basically, after insisting that it wouldn't do this, it wouldn't give out data to governments in response to legal requests. Pavel Durov, the chief executive officer of Telegram, said that Telegram will now provide users' IP addresses and phone numbers to relevant authorities. Casey, what do you think about these two stories?
Well, first of all, I think they're related. Second of all, the Telegram story has made me realize that Pavel Durov and I have something in common, Kevin.
What's that?
Well, we both came to profound realizations while sitting in a French prison. Did I ever tell you about the time I was in a French prison?
No.
I stole a loaf of bread to feed my family.
I think I saw a play about that.
Yeah, it was
once.
a very good musical.
Yeah.
But look, here's the deal. I think what we've really learned here is that after a long period of countries trying to rein in tech platforms through passing laws and passing regulations, we're now moving into what I like to call the prison phase, where Supreme Courts and law enforcement officers are going out there and they're saying, you are either going to listen to us and you're going to obey the sovereignty of our country, or we're going to throw your executives in jail, or we're just going to ban the whole platform. So this is a real ratcheting up. And for all of the big talk that Pavel Durov and Elon Musk have done over the past year about how they were going to fight for free speech, when push came to shove, they were not willing to spend the rest of their lives in jail.
All right, stop generating.
All right. Kevin, meet the avocado and a robotic burrito bowl maker at these Orange County Chipotle locations. Now, this story is very personal to me because I grew up in Orange County. And according to the Los Angeles Times, robots that fully flesh out avocados and build burrito bowls are now making food for customers at 2 Chipotle Mexican grill restaurants in Southern California as automation and artificial intelligence continue to enter the fast food industry and raise fears about the supplanting of workers. And Kevin, I'm told the avocado can cut, core, and peel avocados in 26 seconds on average. How does that compare to your avocado technique?
Wow. I'm pretty fast with an avocado,
yeah.
But I will say I don't hate this because I recently learned that cutting avocados is the cause of many trips to the emergency room.
Is that right?
Many is one of the leading reasons that people cut their hands in the kitchen, because when people are cutting avocados, sometimes they'll split the avocado in half, they'll hold a half, and then they'll cut it while it's in their other hand. And many times, my friend who had injured themselves this way was saying, people will just cut through the skin of the avocado into their hand and have to go to the ER.
Well, I mean, that's why there's that saying, make guacamole, cut a little holy, and that's how you're supposed to remember to be careful. But what do you think about the automatic robot nature of what's happening to Chipotle?
So obviously, I would be worried if I was a Chipotle worker, but I think in some spiritual sense, like Chipotle is already kind of this like slurry that people just sort of shovel into their mouths like they're horses at a trough.
It's a conveyor belt for beans and rice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't mind this. I will be interested to see if they can actually automate more parts of the Chipotle process, because this is just one part of the assembly process. But I have to imagine that Chipotle and many other fast food chains are working on using robots for things like flipping burgers.
Here's my prediction. If you've ever been to Chipotle, you know one thing, and that is that guac is extra, right?
Yeah.
You know this. You want to get guacamole on anything, you're going to have to pay up. I think in the future at Chipotle, humans are going to be extra, right? You can either go to the avocado and you can get it cheaper, but if hey, you want that burrito made with the love of a human being, that's going to cost you about another $2.
I'm not sure the burritos are made with the love of a human being today.
All right, stop generating.
Okay. Oh, this one's a talker. This was all over my feeds yesterday. Marques Brownlee says, I hear you after fans criticize his new wallpaper app. So, Casey, you will remember former Hard Fork guest Marques Brownlee, a.k.a. MKBHD, the famous YouTube tech reviewer. He launched a wallpaper app called Panels this week as part of his iPhone 16 review. The app was criticized for its price. A subscription to this app costs $50 a year or $12 a month. And people were very skeptical that any app for wallpaper for your iPhone could be worth that much money. And the app also asked to track user activity across other websites and location data. Marques Brownlee sort of backtracked a little bit. He said that they were going to fix the excessive data disclosures. So, Casey, what did you make of this? This was a big deal. People were very mad.
It made me really worried about the upcoming launch of the first official Hard Fork product, which is a bag of rusty nails. You know, like looking at how this app was received, I thought, Kevin, we're going to be in for it. But, look, I really like Marques. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's built something really incredible over there. But two things come to mind. One is when you are a critic and when you are a tough critic, anybody you criticize is going to be out there waiting for you with long knives. And I think Marques arguably published the most critical reviews of his entire career this year. He trashed the Humane AI pin, the Rabbit R1 AI gadget, and also an electric car. And he really sort of built up a reputation for himself as somebody who was really hard on other people's products. So when you release your product, if it is not absolutely polished and dialed, you're going to hear it. The other thing I've been thinking about is this is actually an indictment of YouTube, right? Because even though, YouTube does share a certain amount of revenue with creators, even the most popular creators there, none of them ever just are content with the money they make there. They feel like in order to be able to live their lives, they have to get into these brand deals. My friend Nilay Patel over at The Verge says at the end of the day, every YouTube creator has to turn themselves into a miniature advertising agency, right? And so it's pushing people like Marques.
And it's not like this in other media, right? Like Wolf Blitzer is not out there hawking ringtones. Right. He doesn't have to because he makes enough money from his day job. And I've got to think that if YouTube was giving people like Marques, who are among the most successful people on that platform, enough ad revenue to support whatever their plans and ambitions are, they wouldn't have to go doing all of these side projects.
Yeah, and now look, maybe some of them would do it anyway, and certainly I'm sure some individual creators are just sort of greedy, and I don't want to totally let creators off the hook who go out and produce subpar products, and it does seem like this was a really subpar product. But to me, the more interesting story about this is what is the actual YouTube economy? And the truth is, it's pretty bad. You talk to particularly anybody who's running more than a 1% operation on YouTube, how it's going, and pretty much the best thing that they'll tell you is that it's going about break even. But there are a lot of people losing money out there on YouTube, and so when I see something like this, I just think, this is really kind of a YouTube story too.
It made me think about the other big sort of YouTube brand extension fiasco, which was the Mr. Beast burger empire.
Yeah, I still have indigestion when I'm thinking about the Beast burger I ate that one time.
So Mr. Beast, for those of you who don't remember this, he launched a line of burger restaurants that were basically sort of ghost kitchens that would all sort of make these burgers and put Mr. Beast's branding on them and send them out. And, many of them got very bad reviews. There was very poor quality control on these burgers. And it ended up being a pretty big stain on Mr. Beast's reputation. No one thought that he was cooking the burgers himself, but I think this really is the flip side of the parasocial relationships.
Is that a burger joke?
Oh, that I didn't mean it as one, but now that you mention it, I think so one thing that people really love about YouTube are these parasocial relationships that fans get to have with their creators, where they trust them more than you would trust someone on the evening news telling you something because they seem authentic. Maybe they're filming in their bedrooms, or someone that's very personal. Maybe they're sharing more intimate details from their life. You end up sort of feeling like you know this person, you trust them. And so when someone on YouTube sort of leads you astray or recommends a product that maybe doesn't live up to your expectations, it really makes you sort of question them as a whole. And I think that's what Marques has stepped into here. And so I think he'll recover from this. He's obviously got a long body of work on YouTube, and I think he will make this right. But I think it just shows how fragile these parasocial relationships can be.
We've probably already talked about this too long, but I do want to say one more thing about this app, because as bad as it is, I do actually want to stand up for the idea of paying people for their art, right? And one thing that I think this app got right was, at least they said that they were going to share the proceeds of the app 50-50 with the artists. And if you are worried that AI is about to put every human artist out of work, an app that comes along and says, we're going to share that money with artists, I think it's at least worth asking yourself whether some of those artists deserve a living wage, right? And that at the end of the day, $50 isn't that much to pay to, keep somebody's lights on at their house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a wallpaper guy? Do you use wallpapers?
I change it like 2 or 3 times a year, but
Is it just a photo of my face now?
Yeah, it is. And I say, I'm going to get him someday.
All right. Stop generating. Well, Casey, that was HatGPT. Let's close the hat.
Closing up the hat.
I'm going to throw it onto our stand here.
No, you'll hurt the circuit board. Perfect.
Wait, now it's crooked.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Hey, that's the end of this clip. If you liked what you saw, head on over to our page and subscribe, and you can get the full podcast. We do a show like this almost every week on tech and the future. Head on over there now and subscribe.